Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon. Welcome and thank you for joining our webinar today on investment procedures and business environment for foreign companies in Vietnam. I am Veronica Gianola. I'm Senior Associate of D'Andrea & Partner Legal Counsel from Office of Milan in Italy. I will have the pleasure to moderate the webinar of today. First of all, I would like to thank all our esteemed speakers for joining us today, and we look forward to share with you all the precious points of views regarding the current business environment in Vietnam. Before moving on with the discussion, I would like to introduce you DP Group to understand better who we are and the services that we provide. Allow me to share the screen. Okay, so DP Group is has offices in Shanghai, Beijing, Nanjing, Chongqing in China, in Italy, in Milan and Pescara, in Vietnam, in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, Pune, in India, Dubai, and has also a Russia desk. These are our core values: corporate social responsibility, to provide the best service in the fastest way, problem solving with professionalism and trust, consideration to every employee, hard work and self-improvement, treat clients' problems as our problems, and many others. Our mission is to be present in every business capital of the world to make the global business environment better through our work. Our strengths are a proven international experience, high level and strong network, international and multilingual team, excellent service in the fastest way, publications and webinars. The structure of DP Group sees the two partners and founders, Carlo D'Andrea and Matteo G, who then have four companies: D'Andrea & Partner Legal Counsel, PHC Advisory, Tax and Accounting, EASTANT Communication and Events, and Chance and Better. D'Andrea & Partner Legal Counsel is the law firm of the group and is a point of reference for companies who want to enter the global market and be successful there. It has been established by Mr. D'Andrea and Mr. Pham, and with the operational headquarters that is located in Shanghai, the firm also has a various number of branches in Asia and Europe, as well as a Russia desk. The firm's clients include larger industrial groups, plus medium-sized enterprises, Chinese and global enterprises, and we have advised an outbound investment amounting to 2 billion renminbi. The structure of D'Andrea & Partner Legal Counsel sees Mr. D'Andrea and Mr. Pham based in Shanghai, and then Mrs. Laureti, who is the partner in Milan, Ms. Saccoccia in Pescara, Tran CV, the partner in Vietnam, and George Anthony in India. As practice areas, we cover corporate and commercial law, M&A, environmental law compliance, FDI, ODI, labor law, legal compliance, dispute resolution. We have been awarded by Le Fonti in 2021, as well by China Business Law Journal. PHC Advisory, Tax and Accounting is a dynamic and international consulting firm specialized in accounting, taxation, and finance. PHC support SMEs and multinational companies for their growth in China, Vietnam, India, and Italy. They provide assistance in accounting, financial supervision, internal audit, tax compliance, M&A, and business consulting. EASTANT Communication and Events is the company that is powering today's webinar, and is an international agency specialized in social media management, digital marketing, PR, and events planning. Chance and Better Education is the education company, and established cooperation with more than 100 well-known universities enterprises to organize short-term internship and business visit, language courses, trainings, and experiences in universities. We also care a lot about the spread of knowledge. We have drafted many practical guides in China, including FDI, foreign direct investments, IPR, labor law, as well as international other guides, also for Belarus, Russia, and for Invest in Italy for the Chinese investors. And I would like also to focus, because Vietnam is the country we are focusing with our webinar today, we have 3 guides: foreign direct investments in Vietnam, industrial zones of Vietnam, and the Vietnam certificate of origin, which are 3 practical guides for who wants to know more about the investments in Vietnam. Here you can see some of our clients and the cooperation with the universities that we are having, among which we have Nanjing Universities, Louis, Unimib, University Bicocca, and Nanjing Normal University. Here you can see our offices, and so this is all for the presentation of our group. Now I would like to go on with the content of our webinar. Let me remind you that the chat is open, so if you have questions, feel free to type there, and they will be addressed later on to our panelists. Without any further ado, I am honored to introduce you Mr. Enrico Padula, who is the Consul General of Italy in Ho Chi Minh City. We are delighted to have you with us, Consul General. Thank you for joining, and I leave the floor to you, please.
Thank you very much for this invitation, and I greet all the panelists that will follow me. Let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Enrico Padula. I have arrived here in Ho Chi Minh City just 1 month ago, so I'm brand new in this very exciting and vibrant environment, especially from a business point of view, which is actually the main focus of this consulate. We are here to promote trade and economic relations between Italy and Vietnam. Now, in just 1 month time, I had not really yet the possibility to meet everybody, but just to have a general idea of the place, so to say, which confirmed me in the choice I made in applying for this position. This is really a very interesting and as I say, the vibrant and exciting place to do business. I must say that, of course, the situation today is very much under the sign of the pandemic still, but at the same time, there is an evident sense that we are moving forward, that Vietnam is working towards retaking its position in the area, and as one of the most advanced economies of the area. I think that your seminar is really important because it addresses the main issue for any investor, or at least one of the main issues, but really an important one, which is the legal framework, the rules that will govern the investment made and generally any business. That is, of course, not always the same as the one you have at home, but that will be an important factor into the development of business. And if we speak about business, the legal framework here in Vietnam, of course, the main reference today is the European Union Vietnam Trade Agreement, that entered into force last year. And that provides a new and very important new mechanism of dispute settlement for addressing all problems that you may encounter into trade through a faster system of panel compositions into the settlement procedures, stricter deadlines, more transparent systems of procedures. All this is very important because it is a step farther than what the World Trade Organization sets as a framework, and therefore I think probably you will address this issue during this panel. I thank you very much for this meeting. I will follow it with great attention because I really think that the future of trade between and of economic cooperation, generally speaking, between Vietnam and Italy, but of course the European Union in a larger sense, depends very much on a stable, reliable legal framework. And in this perspective, of course, the role of lawyers and of consultants in business law is definitely crucial. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Consul Padula. You are very welcome to stay with us for all the webinar, unless you have other business meetings or other things. Feel free to, of course, to leave when it's due. Now we will go on and hear the voice of Mr. Michele D'Ercole, who is the chairman of ICHAM. Unfortunately, Mr. D'Ercole was not able to attend the webinar today with us in presence, but he sent us the video that we are going to play now. So let's listen to Mr. D'Ercole, please.
As Italian Chamber of Commerce, also this time we are very glad to support the webinar organized by the Andrea & Partners Legal Counsel on the investing procedures and business environment for foreign companies. Of course, you know, this is one of the high topic that every company will be interested to listen. And even with a very complicated time in Vietnam, we are almost finished very tough moment with lockdown, but in the couple of months, everybody starting to work, starting on the track. And also as Italian Chamber of Commerce, we are very happy to support this kind of event that also continue to give useful information to the companies, and this is what the companies are looking for, and that's why the chamber is here to support this kind of event, because information is the key of any kind of activities, and in particular this time talking about procedures of investing on the business environment is very, very important, because many changes coming, and also the companies are very keen to know what's going on in this moment. Well, I really hope that in 2022 the business environment will be improved. We have seen a positive result in the last 2 months after a complicated period. And even if, for example, in Vietnam, the GDP forecast at the beginning of the year was about 60%, but the GDP, even after the lockdown, they're looking for positive digit, so probably about 3%. This means that absolutely we have very good sign of recovery here in Vietnam, and this kind of event and this kind of webinar can help a lot the company to continue the way to recover. So thanks a lot again to have ICHAM with you, and thanks a lot, of course, to organize this kind of event. We will continue as ICHAM, we support this event. Have a nice and wonderful webinar.
Thank you. We thank Mr. D'Ercole for choosing anyways of being with us. Now let's enter into the discussion with the first speech, who will be delivered by our Filippo Scaglia, who is legal advisor based in our DMP Hanoi office. He will enlighten us on the legal framework and international trade opportunities for FDI. Filippo, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Veronica, and thank you to the previous speakers for the warm greetings and introduction. Let me just share the screen so you can see all the PPT. Okay, so yes, let's get into the topic of today. I'm gonna give a brief presentation regarding the trading opportunities for foreign investors here in Vietnam. Mostly for investors that are facing for the first time this fastly growing market. So Vietnam has been under the radar for investment and for trading opportunities in the last years. And let's try to understand what makes it so special, why everyone keeps talking about Vietnam. I believe that these 5 points are the key points of the attractiveness for the Vietnamese market, because Vietnam, among the emerging countries, is one of the fastest growing. The GDP is kept growing on an average of about 7% in the last 10 years, and it kept growing. The target for the next year would be 6.5. And even if the last 2 years, due to the pandemic, we saw a slowdown, still Vietnam is one of the few countries in all of the world that has a positive outcome for GDP. The other one, if I should pick one among all of these characteristics of the market, I would say that the most interesting one for investors is the local market, because when you look at Vietnam, there is an opportunity not only for exporting the goods produced, manufactured locally, but also to sell to local customers, because 50% of the population is less than 30 years old. This means there is a growing middle class with a growing power of acquisition, and this will keep growing at least for the next 10 years. The middle class is growing. You have most of the population which is working age, and these give a great opportunity for companies that want to exploit also the local market. Now let's talk about some statistics regarding the foreign investor here in Vietnam, because as you can see, the country investing in Vietnam are mostly, it looks like mostly come from the Asian continent. You see the major one are Japan, South Korea, China, and Singapore and Hong Kong. But this means that the investment come from Asia. Doesn't mean that the companies are from Asia. This means that maybe a foreign investor has set up a company in China or in Hong Kong or in Singapore, and then move from the headquarters in China and open a new branch in Vietnam, maybe to shift, to split the manufacturing, to diversify the production. This is also called, it's famous nowadays as the China +1 strategy, and it has been proven very well thought strategy in the last years due to the pandemic again, because if you have put all your eggs in one basket, meaning you have all your production facility in China, you would have been you could have suffered the pandemic, the cut of the link with all the world and exporting production, exporting of goods. While if you have different production sites in Asia, you could still keep the productivity at an average level. And this is also why most people come to Vietnam, or also differentiate among all Asian countries. As you can see, for investors, there is historically, Vietnam was one of the first, has seen most investors in the textile and footwear, while in the recent year, also due to the government putting more and more incentives and enhance the attractiveness in the high-tech sector, has seen investment in the technology, in the automotive sector, in the telecommunication. As you probably know, Samsung has made Vietnam one of the world center for manufacturing of the product. Foxconn, again, one of the big suppliers for Apple. And most recently, in the last month, we saw that Nestlé has made a huge investment of a few billion here in Vietnam, and also Lego, the Danish company that makes the toys, very famous, is going to set up the Asian hub headquarters of production here in Vietnam. Now let's talk about trade opportunities on international level. As the previous speaker also mentioned, the EVFTA, the free trade agreement between Vietnam and Europe, has been enforced since last year, and it's already shown some benefits. The GDP and the GDP, the import and export rate between Europe and Vietnam has grown in the last year, even during the pandemic. So this has a lot to say regarding the growing opportunities in these markets. And for the next, what are the benefits from the FTA? In the next 7 years, we will see the custom duty for products, for many different products, basically cover 90% of the product exported from Vietnam. The custom duty will go to almost zero in all the goods qualification. While the other one, the most recent one of the free trade agreements ratified by Vietnam, is the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and it includes all the ASEAN members, which means mostly the South Pacific countries, plus China, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. India, it's part of the agreement, but only not for the whole part. So India is in, but not for the whole part. This means again that Vietnam is as a location for an exporting point in the Asian continent is one of the key countries, because it has many agreements, not only between among the Asian community, Asian members, but also with the European, and also other 15 or 16 free trade agreements with the US and Australia and other countries. It is a key location for a company that has the strategy of exporting from the Asian continent in the whole world. Now let's get into how to set up a business company here in Vietnam. How do I do business? How to do business here in Vietnam? In our experience, the most common solution are to set up or a representative office or a limited liability company. It's two different solutions, but still viable in any way. The representative office, it's we would suggest to companies that are at an early stage of the investment, meaning that are just facing and just entering the country, because it has some limitation, meaning that a representative office cannot issue an invoice. This means you cannot have clients, you cannot have profits as a representative office. What it allows you to do is to enter the country, to start meeting potential clients, potential customers, potential business partners, explore the community, explore the market, and get a first-hand experience of the market, and also start the promotion and do any promoting activities or business development activities. So for this purpose, it's the perfect solution. While if you already have a business strategy and a business approach and you already know the market, the limited liability company, of course, is the most suitable option, because you can choose, you can have a 100% foreign-owned company, meaning you are the only investor, or you can set up a joint venture with the local partners. Depending on the business sector you decide to invest, you may have some conditions, some restriction, but then again, for the major and the most common business sector, there are no restrictions for foreign investors. It's only for just a very limited business sector. There is the list, and you are maybe required to have a business license or even have to set up a company with a local partner. The third point, which I would like to focus most, is the intellectual property rights, because we always suggest to our clients, even when the first moment you start thinking about investing in Vietnam, the first thing you have to do is to protect your intellectual property rights, meaning you have to register your trademark, because Vietnam, as many other countries, has the first to file rule, meaning if you apply to register your trademark first, you have the right to protect your rights. If you come in second, it gets more difficult, because other people, the one who have registered before you, can exploit the trademark, and it's already present in the market. So the first suggestion is always register your trademark first thing first. Now let's get into the incorporation procedure. To set up a company here in Vietnam as a foreign investor, you need mainly two certificates. The first one is the investment registration certificate, which is required only to foreign investor. And the second one is the enterprise registration certificate, which is the basic certificate for any companies, also for local companies here in Vietnam. To apply for the IRC, so for the investment certificate, they do say that a foreign investment has to submit, it shall include most basically, to put it simple, all the information that are included in a business plans. So this means the charter capital, or the number of employees, or the location, the address, or if the company has any plan to expand in the next years. All this information should be included in the form and in the other application form for the IRC. Once you get the IRC, you can apply for the ERC. And again, the ERC shows all the relevant information of the companies, which are pretty much the same all over the world, so nothing special. The procedure is quite straightforward. And once you have the IRC, you can easily get the ERC. Regarding the third point, the business license, as I mentioned before, in some sector are considered conditional. So there are some limitations, some conditions to access this sector, and it may require the foreign investor and the local investor also to require for the business license. So it is a different application, and it comes after you have already obtained the IRC and the ERC. So I guess that's it for me. I hope it was interesting and useful. If you have any question, I believe you can ask later in the Q&A session.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Filippo. Now I would like to introduce to all of you Mrs. Tiffany Trang, who is the sales manager of Deep Sea Industrial Zone. Deep Sea is a leading company in managing and building industrial parks, and the only European managed industrial park in Vietnam. Deep Sea has access to the industrial port in the Deep Sea, and is one of the few industrial parks putting conditions to investors to be green and sustainable. Mrs. Tiffany Trang will give us more information about what they do, and especially will talk to us about the development of regional cluster in the northern region. Tiffany, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Veronica, and thank you, the Andrea Partners, has given me a chance to representing Deep Sea Industrial Zones to share our insights on the regional development of the industrial cluster in northern Vietnam. So allow me to share the screen now. Okay, I hope that everyone has seen my screen. So without further ado, let me start my sharing, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So first of all, looking at this map, in Vietnam, we divided into 3 economic zones, North, Central, and South. And in terms of North economic zone, there are major economic hubs of the region, which is the Bắc Ninh, Quảng Ninh, Hải Phòng, Hải Dương, Vĩnh Phúc, Hà Nội, and Hưng Yên. So among the Quảng Ninh and Hải Phòng are the leading northern economics powerhouse with the excellent performance across the different economic parameters for before COVID and even after the 2 years of COVID in a very difficult situation. Hải Phòng and Quảng Ninh is still a highlighted economics hub of the northern Vietnam. And so the reason for this strong performance of the northern Vietnam economic figures, in specifically Hải Phòng and Quảng Ninh, is all thanks to the strategic locations of Vietnam in general and also northern itself. So Vietnam is a long country, and but then is located in a very strategically in Southeast Asia. From Vietnam, is you guys can or the investor can access to 3.5 billion people, which is approximately 50% of the world population within 3,500 kilometers, which convert into shipping, which is around 5 days or 5 hours of flying only. So it's undeniable that Vietnam plays important roles in supplying and meeting to the global consumers' demand. So Vietnam, just now you have seen the map of Vietnam. It's a long country. It's divided into 3 different economic zones. And I'm sure everyone in the webinar today more or less agree with me that southern hub like Ho Chi Minh is always the first destination to the global investor when they look into Vietnam. However, it has been established as the FDI destination for a long time. So apart from the tremendous benefit that the FDI inflow brings to the Ho Chi Minh, it also brings a certain pressure into the infrastructure of the regions. So the congestion is one of the concerning issues of the South. Therefore, the northern infrastructure have been learned from this lesson. The government has focused in developing much more milestone developments for the infrastructures, which put a strong focus for the budget. The government have put a strong focus for the infrastructure budget to improve the efficiency and also attracting more to create a better business environment for investor and attracting better FDI investment into the northern Vietnam. So I hope you see my cursor. So the main development here I would like to highlight is the three express highways, which the first one is connecting the Hải Phòng, which is the northern port city of Vietnam, to the Hanoi capital. With this highway is reduce the traveling time from which I remember in the past is 5 hours, and now it's only 1.5 hours by highway. So it's extremely helped to reduce the time traveling and the cost for the company who they like to move in between these two cities. And also another milestone express highway is the Hải Phòng Hạ Long China Border Expressway, which is connecting the Hải Phòng with the border with China and Móng Cái, and also the southern half of China in just 4 hours. And if you can see the map here, so this one part of the express highway has been finished, and this part also been finished, and from here until the border with Móng Cái will be finished by end of this year. So from here and all the way going to the southern half of China is in total of 12 trucking. So by locating in Haiphong or Quang Ninh or northern Vietnam, you can not only connect with the southern half of China, which is one of the main manufacturing hubs of China, not only by the road, but by the port, but also by the road. So on top of the road infrastructures, in northern Vietnam, we also have 3 main ports, which is the Haiphong port, the Khai Lan port, and also the recent new only deep sea port in the north called the Lac Huyện deep sea port. So it's the right hand side is a picture of the port. So with this port, why it's so important? Because as you know, in Haiphong or in the North Vietnam, before when investors want to ship the cargoes or the container to the world, to overseas, they have to transship. But with this port, is how to reduce the transshipment time. They can directly go into the west coast of, for example, in US, from 30 days in the past to only 15 or 18 days now. So it's a huge cost saving in terms of time and the money for the manufacturing that locating here. And last but not least, surrounding here is the 3 main international airport, which is the Noi Bai International Airport, which is the main airport that has been using for the Northern Vietnam, also the Cát Bi International Airport and Vân Đồn International Airport. So, so the government has been focusing, developing the infrastructure in different mode of transportation, with the hope that to bring a better business environment for the investor, which can attract the better FDIs for the region. So, sorry, go again. So on top of this infrastructure development and also the location itself, the factors that bring in more and more FDI attentions to the Northern Vietnam is the continuous shift of supply chain to Vietnam, which Filippo from the Andrea Partner had just highlighted on his presentations. So I also see the same factors that influence the trend and accelerates the FDI investment into Northern Vietnam. So as the manufacturing investors start relying less on China as single hub of the manufacturing due to several reasons, such as the rising labor costs, as you know, the tightened regulations, unexpected disruptive events like electricity blackouts and the COVID-19. So in order to find the resilience for the supply chains and production, they start looking to other countries like ASEAN countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam has gained such a better comparative advantage compared to the rest, which is because Vietnam located the closest to China, especially Northern Vietnam. And with all the FTAs that Vietnam has signed, so far we have signed 14 FTAs by now. And one of the most recent one, the EVFTA has mentioned by Filippo as well, has boosted the attention from the Vietnam, especially Northern Vietnam, from the company based in China and also a Chinese company. So it has bring a lot of positive impact in Vietnam in general. So in trade, we see a surplus in our export and import. And mainly Vietnam export and import product focus on the telephones and computer electronics part, as well as machinery and instrument. Of course, we also focus on textile, garment, and footwear, which is our traditional export industry. In terms of FDIs in Vietnam from 2015 to 2020, we have attracted 141 countries invest in Vietnam, and leading investors are still Korea, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. So with all these factors influencing, with all this infrastructure development that happening and are happening now, and also will developing more in the future, Northern Vietnam have seen a very clear manufacturing cluster has started building up in the north, which I would highlight here in this map. You can see that in the north, we were attracting more of like automotive and related machinery, electronics product, screen and panels, among others. Well, in south, they will focus more in textile, in pharmaceuticals, which is the more prominent there compared to the north. And some of the notables, Queen Bee project that belong to electronics that also located in the north, which is Samsung, LG, Intel, and such as. And so we are very, at Tipsy, we also very glad to host two of the company, the top 9 OEM company for electronic products that are now operating and producing in our zones. So you can see here, which is being more clear for how much percentage of electronic cluster in the north, which is most of the big companies are located in the northern Vietnam with 73%. Electronic company based in the north, when only 23% are based in the south. The same story for automotive cluster, apart from electronic. We also see that more automotive company based in the north with about 48%. And we still see a higher sale or growth in the future by 2025. It has the 12.9% growth in the future for the automotive cluster. And apart from this main cluster or the potential cluster of Northern Vietnam, we also witnessed that there's a growth of demand for warehouse and ready factories because of the COVID and because of supply chain disruptions. Companies are now looking for more stocking in case of the disruption in their supply chains production. So they require more space for warehousing and also ready-built factory because of the flexibility and the speedy setup and low investment cost as well. And on top of that, because of the e-commerce growth, because people are of course stay in-house more and they increase in shopping online. So the e-commerce has growing extremely high, not in Vietnam, but in the world. So the demand for warehouses also increasing a lot especially in Northern Vietnam, and especially in Hai Phong city, because Hai Phong is located next to the port. And it's very well connected to other transportation modes. So it's make more sense for investors to have a warehouse located nearby in Hai Phong to be near to the port. So so how Deep Sea would help the investor when they come into Vietnam, especially in Northern Vietnam. So as the overview, we are the Belgium industrial park, and we have come to Vietnam since 1997, and we have developed into 5 different industrial zones. In Hai Phong, we have 3 industrial zones, and Quang Ninh we have 2 industrial zones. And looking at our map here, I think one of the most benefit or advantage that investor can surely enjoy from locating in our zone is that the location the location advantage that we are well connected to all the infrastructure developments of the North, which I just mentioned in my earlier presentations. We're well connected to all the deep sea port and also the highway that connecting to the border with China and also with all the international airport. So for different manufacturing industry, it can well suited to the need of the different industry demand. And on top of that, what I just also mentioned just now, I focus on the economic zones of the Vietnam, which we divided into 3 different economic zones. And for deep sea, we are very it's very good for us that we can have the permit from the government that we located in an economic zone, which will automatically transfer to the investor who investing into our zone, that they will enjoy this economic zone tax package or when they invest in our zone, regardless what kind of industry they are, regardless how many total investment capital, they can enjoy 4.35% for 15 years of the tax, while the normal tax is about 20%. So it's a huge saving cost for the investor. What sets us aside from deep sea with more than 300 industrial parks in Vietnam is that the availability of our industrial land, we can offer a lot of flexibility in terms of timelines. As well, apart from industrial land, we also offer ready-built factory for the small and medium business that they can start their business very quickly. Also, the few industrial zone can have the permit to operate our petrochemical zone, which I think Italian companies are very strong in pharmaceutical and chemical. So if decided to invest into the North, this will want to be the suitable choice. And especially deep sea, I think among few industrial zones that really pushing hard for sustainability, and we have take initiatives to supplement 50% of our energy by 2030 with renewable energy. So we're already starting our solar energy and the wind energy, which I think the wind turbine has just finished last week and will come into operation by end of this by Q1 next year. So we hope that with the renewable energy on top the EVN, which is the government supply of the energy to across Vietnam, we can provide a more stability to our investor. And the wastewater treatment plant is all certified with ISO quality, which is also very rare for industrial zone in Vietnam. And on top of that, because of our more than 20 years of experience as FDI company in Vietnam, we can support the investor with all our experience in terms of business licensing. Also, we work with D'Ercole partners in terms of advising for all the licensing and permit for the customer, so that we make sure that they can get the best advice from the best expertise, and we will help with the connection and the working around with the government, the authority, so that the operation can be smoothly operated in Vietnam. And last but not least, I just mentioned about the sustainability goals of deep sea. And in the future, deep sea also wanted to become an eco-park with a lot of more initiative in sustainability, so that we can become one of the first 3 eco-park in Vietnam. So here is some of our success story, that we have more than 130 projects for different industry, different clients that already investing with us and operating with us. Yeah, so that's the end of my presentation, and I hope that is useful and insightful for the audience. And please ask me any question you have. And thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany, for the complete presentation of Deep Sea. Now I would like to move on with the financial vision, and I'd like to introduce you our Nikita Polishchuk, financial advisor of PHC Advisory Tax and Accounting. He will talk to us about the tax and fiscal incentives for investing companies. Nikita, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Veronica. Let me share my presentation, just a second. Okay. Okay, great. Once again, thank you, Veronica. Thank you, dear panelists, and once again, welcome to all of our audience. In today's presentation, I would like to talk about the tax and essentially other incentives that businesses have when executing foreign direct investment in Vietnam. So first, I will just briefly introduce some of the key incentives available in Vietnam, and then I will focus on the following three: tax preferential rates, tax holidays, some additional incentives, and I will conclude with some of the remarks and practical tips for the businesses that invest in Vietnam. So first, of course, Vietnam is considered one of the most attractive foreign direct investment destinations in the Southeast Asian region. Among relevant factors, we highlight strategic location, competitive labor force, and the staggering speed of economic development. Of course, as other panelists mentioned, Vietnam has entered into a number of agreements with other foreign states and countries, which is another important factor for foreign investors. And of course, the authorities in Vietnam have provided a number of competitive tax and fiscal incentives to both domestic and foreign businesses alike to attract investment in Vietnam. So first, essentially, we begin by looking at the preferential tax rates. Generally speaking, when it comes to the preferential tax rates, Vietnam utilizes two key incentive schemes. The first one being the preferential tax rate, the second one being the tax holiday. As for the standard corporate income tax, which how it was previously mentioned, the standard rate is set at 20%. However, some businesses may be entitled to preferential rates at the amount of 17%, 15%, and 10% respectively. We will look into the specific conditions in the next slides. Furthermore, the duration of these preferential rates would differ from a pre-specified period, or it can be set for the entire lifetime of a project. And the period for preferential rates to apply usually starts from the first year of revenue generation, unless there are some certain exceptions when it comes to high-tech businesses. So we begin by looking at some of the encouraged industries in Vietnam that are granted preferential tax rates. I just want to point out, first of all, that this list that is presented here is not exhaustive, and it's being constantly updated by the authorities of Vietnam. And secondly, benefits that are listed here are just some of the common measures. And in fact, for the more detailed measures and the processes, in fact, we recommend to advise with the local consultant in Vietnam. But anyhow, let's begin by looking at the preferential tax rates based on the sectors. First, for high-tech, automobiles, clothes, and footwear, there is a preferential corporate income tax rate, which is set at 10% for the first 15 years. For education, training, healthcare, sports, culture, and environment businesses, corporate income tax would be set at 10%, but for only the duration of the project. And for agriculture and agriculture-related businesses, the CIT rate is set at 15% for the duration of the project. Next, the second criterion by which the authorities in Vietnam apply the preferential tax rate is the location. Here we divide the location in three parts. The first one being called so-called difficult socioeconomic condition areas, but also special economic zones and high-tech zones. In those areas, the Vietnamese authorities can accept the corporate income tax being paid at the rate of 10% for 15 years. In difficult socioeconomic condition areas, also CIT can be set at 17%, but for 10 years. And for one of the measures for industrial parks is, for example, a 2 years of tax holidays, so essentially no tax being paid, and a 50% reduction in corporate income tax for the next 4 years. And of course, these should be reviewed carefully before actually applying to your specific business and sector. And finally, the final criterion by which the authorities can reduce the corporate income tax is the size of investment. So for manufacturing projects with investment of more than 6 trillion Vietnamese dong, which is roughly equal to 260 million USD, and for manufacturing projects with investment of more than 12 trillion Vietnamese dong, which is roughly equal to 522 million USD, but using high technology, the corporate income tax rate is set at 10% for 15 years. So this is generally for very big and large projects, and for those which are using high-tech innovation in the production, in its production operations. Next, when it comes to tax holidays, essentially companies in the encouraged sectors in Vietnam can qualify not to pay the corporate income tax for a predefined period. The standard one would be set at 4 years. Furthermore, after the tax exemption period expires, companies generally would receive a partial annual tax holiday provision, meaning they would get a discount on their taxes by, let's say, 50% of their tax payable for the year. And lastly, the period of tax holiday normally starts from the first year of profits or fourth year of revenue generation, whichever prevails. I will name just 2 of the other incentives, non-tax incentives, but in fact there are many more. But I believe these 2 are some of the most interesting for foreign investors. The first one being the exemption from custom duties. So there are 4 criteria in which the goods can qualify for the exemption from custom duties. The first one is the goods that imported to form fixed assets in Vietnam. Second one, goods imported for implementing export processing contracts. The third one is goods which are imported for the use in actually scientific research and very high-tech work. And the fourth one is the import of raw materials and supplies for production of the software products. The second incentive being the incentive on land rental. And here there are 2 points that I would like to bring up. So for businesses, a full operational period for exemption on the land rental can apply. Those businesses are in the encouraged sectors, or once again, as previously mentioned, in those difficult socioeconomic areas. So the authorities will be so the authorities essentially encourage you to basically invest in those areas. And the second one, partial exemption. So exemption for periods of 3, 7, 11, or 15 years accordingly can be applied, as also available for projects and businesses in encouraged sectors. And this will be subject to additional criteria, which essentially you will have to negotiate with the local authorities to exactly apply a specific term. Sorry, just yeah. And lastly, for the conclusion and the final remarks, there are main 3 points. So the first one being that foreign investors indeed shall be aware that the conditions to qualify for these fiscal incentives are not always clear, and in fact not always transparent. And you must be aware that these conditions can be interpreted differently by local tax authorities in Vietnam. Of course, projects that are entitled to multiple fiscal incentives should apply the most favorable incentive available. And while attractive on paper, these incentives, in fact, can present challenges to investors who are unfamiliar with the legal framework and the legal system of the country. So for investors who are interested in investing in Vietnam and securing those incentives must ensure they are fully aware of all the available incentives and the processes on how they would apply. And indeed, it is recommended actually to engage a trusted advisor or consultant in Vietnam in order to have a better understanding of all the applicable laws and regulations, and also to initiate a dialogue with the local authorities. And that's all for my part. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send it to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikita. I see that now we are already running a little bit out of time, so unfortunately we will not have much space for the Q&A session, but if you have any, please feel free to address them to us by email, and we will reply you. So I once again would like to thank everyone, the Consul General Padula, Mr. Michele D'Ercole, you esteemed speakers, all the audience, and in particular EASTANT Communication and Events who organized and powered this webinar today. In this webinar, I think we had a comprehensive view of what are all the main key areas not to be forgotten by investors while entering the Vietnamese market. If you wish to keep in touch with us, please follow us on the social media, or follow us also, follow up by emails and get in touch with us. Thank you very much to you all, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.